Microbial Matters, a podcast introducing the latest microbiome research. Hi, I'm Jerry Zhang, a chemical biologist studying human microbiome. In this podcast, I'm going to share with you newest advances in microbiome research, especially those related to human health. Today, we're taking a break from discussing scientific papers to talk about something fun, games. Some of you might be familiar with the game Borderlands 3. Developed by Gearbox Software and published by 2K Games, Borderlands 3 is an RPG-style, first-person shooter that was released in 2019. While I haven't played it myself, the game's storyline involves players as treasure hunters, battling crazy enemies, collecting weapons and loot, and ultimately saving their homes from the villainous Calypso twins. In the game, there's a player base called Sanctuary the Third, and within the medical bay corner, there's an arcade machine. When you interact with it, you will find that it's a real game machine, and you will enter a game called Borderlands Science. Genshin Impact players might find it familiar. It's a mini game within a game. You can check out what Borderlands Science looked like through the link in the show note. The game resembles a mix of Candy Crush and Tetris, with purple and cyan blocks arranged in columns of 7 to 20. Your task is to use limited spacer blockers, that is, the yellow arrow blocks on the right, to align the pattern blocks in each column with the reference pattern on the far left, placing identical patterns in the same row. The more aligned the columns, the higher your score, and the more in-game currency you earn, which you can use to buy gears and upgrades for the main game. Now, you might be wondering why a podcast about gut microbiota is discussing a video game. Well, the mini-game I just described actually helps scientists with research on gut microbiota. We know that a healthy adult's gut contains about 3 pounds of microorganisms, comprising over 1,000 different species. Each of these bacteria has unique DNA fingerprints called 16S ribosomal RNA sequences. Distinguishing these bacteria based on their DNA is a daunting yet crucial task. While scientists have developed algorithms to tackle this issue, the results haven't been ideal. For example, the Microbiota initiative has collected thousands of human stool samples, extracting and sequencing the microbial DNA. However, when it comes to sorting and assembling these sequences, computers not only struggle but also introduce small errors that affect further analysis. So scientists turn to Borderlands 3 for help. In Borderlands Science, players appear to be aligning columns of pattern blocks, but they're actually helping scientists design algorithms to simultaneously compare multiple DNA sequences. The reference pattern on the left side of the game interface represents the common features of nearly 1 million sequences identified by computer analysis, and players' actions essentially compare multiple sequences against this average. You might be wondering why we need game players to do this when it sounds like something computers excel at. The reason is that there's no standard answer for sequence alignment. Scientists can't provide AI with a reference or training set to tell it how to align sequences. Aligning sequences involves balancing two conflicting goals: matching nucleotides and minimizing gaps. Let's consider an example of aligning two 8-length nucleotide sequences, TTCA-TAGC and CTTG-ACTG. This example is also illustrated through the second link in the show note. If we strictly avoid any nucleotide mismatches, we end up with an alignment using many gaps, like the top part of the illustration. This alignment, however, provides little insight into the relationship between the two sequences, as they appear almost unrelated. Alternatively, we could take the other extreme and avoid any gaps, like the middle part of the illustration. As you can see, this isn't really an alignment at all. Instead, let's use our human intuition to find a balanced solution, as shown in the bottom part of the illustration. This alignment looks much more reasonable, showing the similarity between the two sequences while using as few gaps as possible. This isn't the only solution. You can try aligning the sequences yourself to find your optimal solution. This highlights the difference between humans and computers. The designers of Borderlands Science aren't aiming for perfect alignment, but are interested in understanding the problem-solving patterns that human players might use. This design choice stems from the difficulty scientists face in training computers to balance alignment and gap reduction from scratch. Human intuition is our best tool. Moreover, while computers typically compare sequences pairwise, humans can use a more holistic approach when handling multiple sequences. With millions of solutions provided by more than 4 million players, scientists can use the relatively optimal solutions to train computer algorithms. In a recent paper published in Nature Biotechnology, the authors found that player-improved algorithms perform better at multiple sequence alignment, surpassing all existing algorithms. They also improve bacterial classification, the association between bacteria and diseases, and the structural models of 16S ribosomal RNA. In short, Borderlands Science has genuinely advanced microbiome and gut microbiota research. Borderlands Science is an example of citizen science games. These are research activities that anyone can participate in, with no special knowledge required. Fields like archaeology, astronomy, and botany, which require massive data collection, have significantly advanced thanks to citizen science games. In fact, birding or bird watching is a form of citizen science. When you report bird sightings, you are helping ornithologists with their research. With the rise of internet technology and the widespread reach of online games, citizen science games have transitioned from collecting data in the real world to providing scientists with vast amounts of information from virtual worlds. While video games are primarily entertainment, they incorporate advanced computing technologies such as graphic processing and music rendering. They also encapsulate valuable human thinking and storytelling abilities, making them naturally compatible with science. There are 3 main ways in melding video games with science. First, the game's elements are defined by the scientific problem itself, turning the problem into the game. A well-known example is the game Alive, a complex mathematical problem in the form of a game. The second way could be the game's mechanics revolve around the scientific problem, simulating the research. For example, the 2008 online game Folded challenges players to help fold proteins using constraints like springs and rubber bands. 2 years after its release, 57,000 players submitted protein folding solutions superior to computer simulations, resulting in a Nature paper in 2010. In 2011, players solved the structure of an HIV virus protein in 10 days that has stumped scientists for 15 years. In 2012, Folded players enhanced an enzyme's activity by 18 times. I once saw a professor at my university playing Folded during a lecture. Well, he was a structural biologist in the first place. Another game, iWire, involves coloring slices of electron microscopy images of fruit fly optic nerves to reconstruct the complete neural map. I played both games but eventually found them tedious. It's unrealistic to expect researchers to independently develop, operate, promote, and maintain a citizen science game. Hence, most research design games lack polished graphics, engaging stories, and comprehensive design and promotion compared to the indie games. This led to the creation of Massively Multiplayer Online Science, or MMOS, an organization that aims to meld video games with science in a third way. Their expertise lies in transforming technical research tasks into engaging, graphical, and narrative-driven games. By combining storytelling and visuals, they bridge the gap between gamers and the world of science. Globally, gamers spend billions of hours playing games each week. MMOS acknowledges this and aims to channel even a fraction of this time into scientific activities, yielding massive data contributions To achieve this, MMOS developed an API to collect data from research tasks embedded in the video games, assigning tasks, tracking data, and scoring players without modifying game source codes. MMOS' mission is to use gaming technology to make the world a better place. To date, they've completed 300 million classification projects, developed 4 projects with 6 partners, and Borderlands Science is their latest achievement. In many life sciences, the initial stages involve repetitive mechanical work that must be completed before deeper research can begin. This includes microbiome research. But this time, microbiome researchers aren't working alone. They have over 4 million helpers. This game is expected to further our understanding of gut microbiota, potentially leading to innovative microbiome-based disease treatments and health strategies. Lastly, the movie adaptation of Borderlands, starring Cate Blanchett, is released recently. Keep an eye out for it. Cool, that's it for today. Thanks for listening. You can listen to more episodes in your favorite podcast platform like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. You can also leave your comments, it'll really help my podcast. You can also support my podcast, Microbial Matters, on Spotify by subscription. Thanks again.